Throughout history, the streets of industrial England have been witness to a multitude of criminal gangs, each leaving its own mark on society. Among these, the legend of the Peaky Blinders has captured the imagination of millions, thanks in large part to the hit TV series that dramatized the ruthless world of 1920s Birmingham. But what is the real story behind this notorious gang? Who were the Peaky Blinders, and how did they shape the underworld of their time? Welcome to History, Facts and Mysteries. In today's episode, we dive deep into the true history of the Peaky Blinders. We'll separate fact from fiction as we explore the origins of this infamous gang, the social conditions that gave birth to their brutal lifestyle, and the lasting impact they had on the criminal landscape of England. If you love uncovering the hidden truths of history, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to join us on every fascinating journey into the past. The birth of a criminal culture in industrial Birmingham. To understand the real Peaky Blinders, we must first step back to the late 19th century. Birmingham, a city that had rapidly transformed into an industrial powerhouse, was a breeding ground for crime. Rapid industrialization had led to overcrowding, poverty, and social unrest. Workers from all walks of life migrated to Birmingham in search of jobs, yet the rapid growth left many living in squalor and desperation. In these grim conditions, gangs emerged as a means for survival. They provided protection, a sense of belonging, and, for some, a way to rise above the hardship. These gangs were not monolithic. They were diverse groups of youths, laborers, and even some criminals from other regions who found themselves in an environment where brute force and cunning often determined success. Birmingham's underworld became a melting pot of rivalries and alliances, and among these groups, the Peaky Blinders began to form. Their name, derived from the practice of sewing razor blades into the peaks of their flat caps, reflected both their resourcefulness and their willingness to use deadly weapons. Although this practice may have been exaggerated in later accounts, it captured the essence of their reputation: swift, dangerous, and unyielding. The early days, formation and identity. The early history of the Peaky Blinders is as murky as it is fascinating. Records from the period are scarce, and much of what we know comes from police reports, local newspapers, and later historical reconstructions. The gang was predominantly active in the working-class districts of Birmingham, where poverty and disillusionment with a rigid social structure created an environment ripe for criminality. These young men, often mere teenagers, banded together not only for protection but also for economic gain. They engaged in petty theft, protection rackets, and small-scale extortion, gradually evolving into a more organized criminal outfit. Their reputation grew as they began to control certain neighborhoods, and their distinctive style, characterized by tailored suits, flat caps, and their notorious, peaky, accessories, became a symbol of defiance against a system that had largely ignored the lower classes. While many gangs of the time were short-lived, the Peaky Blinders managed to endure by adapting to changing circumstances. They were known for their ability to strike quickly and disappear before the authorities could catch them, a tactic that served them well in an era before modern policing and surveillance techniques. The social and economic context. The success and longevity of the Peaky Blinders were in no small part due to the broader social and economic context of industrial Birmingham. The rapid growth of factories and the influx of migrant workers led to severe overcrowding and poverty. Living conditions were harsh, and many families struggled to secure even the basic necessities of life. In this environment, criminal activity was often seen as a rational response to extreme economic inequality. Gangs like the Peaky Blinders filled a void left by a failing social system. For many young men, joining a gang provided not only protection but also a source of income and social status. In a society where upward mobility was nearly impossible for the working class, the gang offered a way to gain respect and power, albeit through illicit means. Additionally, the rise of organized crime in Birmingham was linked to the broader decline of the industrial working class in Britain. As economic conditions worsened towards the turn of the century, criminal organizations gained more influence. The Peaky Blinders were both a product of this environment and an agent that helped shape it, establishing a legacy that would influence later generations of British organized crime. Gangs and rivalries. The underworld of Birmingham. Birmingham's criminal underworld in the late 19th and early 20th centuries was marked by intense rivalries and shifting alliances. The Peaky Blinders were not the only gang in the city. They competed with various other groups for control of territory and lucrative criminal enterprises. The competitive environment forced the Peaky Blinders to develop a reputation for ruthlessness and cunning. They were known for their violent street battles, often involving improvised weapons and brutal hand-to-hand combat. Rivalries between gangs sometimes escalated into full-blown turf wars, leaving a trail of bloodshed that the local police struggled to contain. Despite the violence, there was also a code of honor among the gangs. Loyalty, respect, and personal bravery were highly valued, and internal discipline was enforced to maintain order. While this might seem contradictory, it reflects the complex social dynamics at play in a world where conventional institutions had largely failed the working class. The interplay of crime and social structure in Birmingham laid the groundwork for the image of the Peaky Blinders that would later be immortalized on screen. A group that was both feared and revered, operating in a world that was as harsh as it was unpredictable. The iconic image, fashion, weaponry, and identity. One of the most enduring aspects of the Peaky Blinders' legacy is their distinctive style. The very name, Peaky Blinders, is believed to derive from the practice of stitching razor blades into the peaks of their flat caps, a method intended to give them an advantage in street fights. Although some historians debate whether this was a common practice or a later embellishment, the image has become synonymous with the gang. Their fashion was more than just a means of intimidation, it was a statement of identity. The sharp, tailored suits, polished boots, and signature caps conveyed a sense of pride and sophistication, even among those who lived on the fringes of society. This sartorial elegance set the Peaky Blinders apart from other, more disorganized criminal groups, and it allowed them to present themselves as both modern and formidable. The blending of style with violence created a dual image, one that exuded both charm and menace. This carefully curated appearance not only helped them secure loyalty among their ranks but also became a crucial element in how they were perceived by the public and later immortalized in literature, art, and film. The decline and transformation of the gang. By the early 20th century, the landscape of organized crime in Birmingham began to change. Economic pressures, increased policing, and the rise of rival criminal organizations contributed to the gradual decline of the original Peaky Blinders. However, the influence of the gang did not simply vanish, instead, it evolved. As the old industrial working class gave way to new forms of urban crime, the Peaky Blinders' legacy transformed into a more mythic narrative. Their name continued to be invoked in popular culture, symbolizing the rough and tumble world of early 20th century Britain. Although the gang as it once existed faded into history, its story persisted, fueling novels, films, and television shows that captured the imagination of audiences around the world. The romanticization of the Peaky Blinders in modern media has, in many ways, obscured the gritty reality of their existence. While the television series portrays them as a near-mythical force with charismatic leaders and epic battles, the historical reality was more fragmented. The original gang was just one of many criminal organizations operating in a volatile, rapidly changing environment. Nevertheless, the legacy of their name endures, serving as a powerful symbol of rebellion, survival, and the complex interplay between social order and chaos. Impact on modern culture and organized crime. The influence of the Peaky Blinders is not confined to the annals of history. It extends into modern culture and even contemporary organized crime. The image of the Peaky Blinders has become a part of popular culture, representing an era of gritty, uncompromising rebellion against societal constraints. Cultural resonance. The television series Peaky Blinders has reintroduced the gang's name to a global audience, blending historical fact with creative license to produce a narrative that is both entertaining and thought-provoking. The show's success has sparked renewed interest in the real history of Birmingham's criminal underworld and has led to a surge in academic and popular research on the topic. Fashion and style. Modern fashion trends have drawn inspiration from the gang's distinctive look, tailored suits, flat caps, and a rugged elegance that harks back to a bygone era. Literature and film. Countless books, documentaries, and films have explored the legacy of the Peaky Blinders, cementing their place in the cultural lexicon as symbols of defiance and resilience. Influence on modern organized crime. While the original Peaky Blinders were a product of their time, Their strategies and organizational methods have left an imprint on modern criminal enterprises. The emphasis on loyalty, discipline, and a strong group identity, hallmarks of the Peaky Blinders, can be seen in various organized crime groups around the world. The legacy of using distinctive dress and symbols as a means of both identity and intimidation continues in many modern gangs. Their ability to adapt to changing social and economic conditions offers lessons in resilience and transformation for groups operating outside conventional legal frameworks. The historical debate. Separating fact from fiction. Despite the popularity of the Peaky Blinders in modern media, historians continue to debate the exact nature and scope of the original gang. The scarcity of comprehensive records means that much of what is known comes from local police reports, newspaper articles, and later oral histories. As a result, the line between fact and myth is often blurred. Sources and evidence. Police records. Early police records from Birmingham mention various criminal gangs operating in the area, but the term Peaky Blinders may have been used interchangeably with other groups. Newspaper accounts. Sensationalist press reports from the late 19th and early 20th centuries contributed significantly to the mythos of the gang. These accounts, while valuable, sometimes exaggerated details for dramatic effect. Oral histories. Local legends and stories passed down through generations have kept the memory of the Peaky Blinders alive, though these narratives are often colored by myth and folklore. Modern interpretations. Historians today seek to reconstruct the true nature of these gangs using a combination of archival research, archaeology, and social analysis. While the television series has popularized a stylized version of the Peaky Blinders, the real history is more nuanced, reflecting the struggles of an industrial society, the challenges of urban poverty, and the complex dynamics of early organized crime in England. This ongoing debate is a reminder that history is not static. It is constantly reinterpreted through the lens of new evidence and cultural context. The legacy of the Peaky Blinders, much like the gang itself, is a blend of hard facts, artistic embellishments, and the collective imagination of society. The broader social context of industrial Birmingham. Understanding the rise and legacy of the Peaky Blinders requires a look at the broader social and economic context of industrial Birmingham. At the turn of the 20th century, Birmingham was undergoing rapid industrialization, transforming from a modest market town into a sprawling industrial metropolis. Industrial boom. The growth of factories and heavy industry brought wealth, but it also created stark inequalities. Workers often labored under harsh conditions, and the rapid urban expansion led to overcrowded and unsanitary living conditions. Social stratification. Economic disparities fueled social unrest, and many working-class citizens found themselves marginalized by the industrial elite. In this environment, criminal gangs emerged as both a means of survival and a form of resistance against the oppressive conditions. Migration and diversity. The influx of workers from different regions and backgrounds contributed to a melting pot of cultures in Birmingham. This diversity, while enriching, also led to tensions that sometimes erupted into organized crime. The impact of media and literature. As the decades passed, the stories of the Peaky Blinders were further embellished by local folklore and popular literature. The gang's exploits became the stuff of legend, with tales of daring robberies, ruthless enforcers, and intricate rivalries. In recent years, the television series Peaky Blinders has reimagined the gang with a stylized flair, mixing historical elements with creative storytelling. This modern depiction has sparked renewed interest in the real history of the gang, prompting historians and enthusiasts alike to re-examine the facts behind the myth. The decline and legacy of the Peaky Blinders. By the early 20th century, the original Peaky Blinders began to fade as the social and economic landscape of Birmingham changed dramatically. Increasing urbanization, improved policing methods, and shifts in criminal organization led to the decline of the original gang. However, their legacy continues to resonate in both historical records and popular culture. The dissolution of the original gang. As industrial conditions evolved and new forms of organized crime emerged, many of the old gangs were absorbed into larger criminal networks or simply faded away. The disappearance of the original Peaky Blinders was not the end of their influence. Instead, their name and image became synonymous with a bygone era, a symbol of the raw, unregulated power of the working class in industrial England. A lasting cultural legacy, the Peaky Blinders have inspired a wealth of cultural works, from books and documentaries to films and television series. Their story has been retold and reinterpreted, often with a mix of historical fact and creative embellishment. Their distinctive style, a blend of tailored suits, flat caps, and an unmistakable air of defiance, has influenced modern fashion and continues to captivate audiences around the world. The enduring fascination with the Peaky Blinders is a testament to the power of storytelling. Their rise and fall encapsulate the struggles of an era marked by rapid industrialization, social inequality, and the relentless pursuit of survival in a harsh urban environment. Lessons from the past. The story of the Peaky Blinders offers important lessons about how societal changes can give rise to subcultures that challenge established norms. It reminds us that even in times of great economic and social transformation, the human spirit finds ways to adapt, rebel, and leave a lasting mark on history. The legacy of the Peaky Blinders is not just about crime and violence. It's also about resilience, community, and the enduring desire to assert one's identity against all odds. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the true story behind the Peaky Blinders. If you enjoyed this exploration into one of history's most intriguing underworlds, please subscribe to History Facts and Mysteries and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think is the most fascinating aspect of the Peaky Blinders story? Leave a comment below and share your perspective. Until next time, keep exploring the mysteries of the past, for every corner of history has a story waiting to be uncovered.